Perris, California is a quiet, picturesque community. The streets are lined with palm trees, the lawns are manicured, and the massive houses project a sense of perfect, quiet normalcy. David and Louise Turpin lived in one of these homes with their 13 children. David was a successful engineer making a six-figure salary. They took their massive family on trips to Disneyland, dressed them in matching, brightly colored outfits, and presented themselves as a devout, loving American household. The couple went to elaborate lengths to maintain this specific public image. They frequently traveled to Las Vegas to renew their wedding vows with Elvis impersonators, always surrounded by their smiling children for the cameras. All of these public displays acted as camouflage. By projecting the image of a financially stable, highly religious, and tightly knit family, the parents ensured no one ever looked closely at what was happening behind their front door. Inside the house, the parents ran a rigid, abusive system. They forced the children to sleep all day and stay awake all night to ensure neighbors never saw them through the windows. The parents bought mountains of fresh food and premium toys, but kept them completely out of reach, heavily padlocking the refrigerators and cabinets. This chart compares the average healthy weight range for a 29-year-old adult female to the reality of the eldest Turpin sibling. Due to extreme, prolonged starvation, she weighed only 82 pounds. In the months leading up to January 2018, the parents escalated their physical punishments. If a child broke an irrational rule, they were shackled to their beds with iron chains for weeks at a time. 17-year-old Jordan Turpin looked at the rapidly declining health of her siblings and realized they were running out of time. She knew if she didn't get help immediately, someone was going to die. Leaving the house was an act of emergency medical triage, driven by the absolute certainty of imminent death. Leaving the property required overcoming massive barriers. Jordan was severely weakened by malnutrition. She had been cut off from society her entire life and had never once been outside the house by herself. She also had to navigate the strict nocturnal schedule. Because the children were forced to stay awake during the night, escaping meant slipping away in the pitch dark while her parents were also awake and roaming the house. To get help, she managed to secure a single discarded device, an old deactivated Motorola smartphone. By law, even without an active carrier service, a mobile device is programmed to bypass network locks and connect to 911. Jordan knew that as long as it had battery power, this deactivated screen was her lifeline. A piece of discarded technology gave a completely isolated teenager a way to pierce through decades of forced silence. On the early morning of January 14, 2018, Jordan carefully opened a ground floor window, climbed through it, and stepped into the dark. For the very first time in her life, she walked down a quiet suburban street alone, holding nothing but that deactivated smartphone. She dialed 911. In a frantic, panicked voice, she laid out the horrific reality to the emergency dispatcher, detailing the starvation, the heavy padlocks, and her two chained sisters. The second that dispatcher picked up the line and heard her voice, the Turpins' decades of carefully constructed normalcy collapsed. Police officers immediately responded to Jordan's location and entered the Perris home. The conditions inside shocked the veteran officers, who found exactly what Jordan had described. David Turpin, the engineer who had funded and built this prison, was arrested on the spot. Louise Turpin was taken into custody alongside him. Both parents were eventually convicted and sentenced to 25 years to life in prison. The 13 siblings were immediately evacuated from the property. In the days that followed, they experienced fresh food, basic medical care, and the outside world for the very first time. As the details emerged, the public was left with a chilling question. 13 people were systematically starved and restrained in a wealthy, crowded subdivision, and not a single neighbor noticed a thing. The parents had designed their lifestyle around a singular goal: to strip their children of any outside knowledge and render them completely helpless. But they failed to break Jordan. Despite severe malnutrition and a lifetime of strict psychological conditioning, she retained enough agency to recognize an emergency, weaponize a dead phone, and find a way out. Against a maximum security environment and the perfect suburban disguise, one teenager's resilience brought the entire house to the ground.